Sairam class. Hope you all are going good with your studies. Class, as we have done multiplication of integers in our previous class. So, in this class, we will gonna learn about properties of multiplication of integers. Before that, I want you all to take your notebook and pencil with you so that you can write important things which will help you during revision. Okay, class? So, before starting with class, let's have a quick revision of our previous class. So, in previous class, we first learnt about the multiplication of one positive and one negative integer. That means when we have to multiply a positive integer with negative integer, the answer will always be negative integer. Okay, class? And the second, which we have learned, that the multiplication of two negative integer. The multiplication of two negative integer will result as a positive integer. Okay, the multiplication of two negative integer result as positive integer. Now move on to next. The next property which we have learned is the multiplication of more than two negative integer. So for this we have two rules. See, for odd number of negative integer, the multiplication will be negative integer, and for even number of negative integer, the multiplication will be positive integer. So class, this was the quick revision for previous lesson. Now let's start today's class, in which we learn about properties of multiplication of integer. Okay, class. So first is closure under multiplication. As you all know that what is closure, that we have learned in our previous class is that closure is that property when we take two or three same group of numbers and the resultant will also be the number from the same group. So let's recall closure first with example. Let's take for addition. If we take two integer and add them, the answer will be integer. So this is the case of closure. Now let's take more example. If we take one positive integer and add that positive integer with another positive integer, we get a positive integer for as answer. Okay, that means we can say that the addition is closure for positive integer. Okay, don't get confused that if we take two or more than two numbers and does a particular operation in between them, and the resultant one is also from the same group from which we have taken the processing one. Okay, this is the case of closure. Now let's check that multiplication is also closure for integer or not. So in case of multiplication, when we take two integers, as we are learning for integer, when we take two integers and we function multiplication in between them, so our answer will be integer. That means it is also a case of closure. Let's check with an example. See, here we take 3 and 4. They both are integers and their answer. That means their answer after multiplying both of them is 12. So 12 is also an integer. Yes? Yes. These 3 all are integers. That means we can say that multiplication is closer for integer. Let's check with more example, taking one negative integer also. See, here we are multiplying one negative integer with a positive integer. See, it is negative, it is positive, but they both are integers. Okay? And their answer, which is minus 15, it is also a integer. So we can say that it proves that integers are closed under multiplication. That means we conclude that integers are closed under multiplication. I hope you all get it. Let's move on to another property, which is commutativity. See, this property is also we had learned in previous class, but for addition and subtraction. Now we are gonna learn this property for multiplication. For that, we have to first recall that what is commutativity actually. Okay, so see, we could easily understand it with an example for the case of addition. Okay, commutativity says if we adding two numbers and when we interchange their place, the answer in both the case will be same. Okay, let's check with an example. For 3 and 2, when we add 3 and 2, we get 5. And when we interchange their value and we add 2 with 3, then we also have 5 as answer. So that means this is the commutativity. Commutativity says when we interchange the place of numbers and we get the same answer, that means that operation is commutativity. Okay, but this is a case of addition, and addition is commutative for integer. Now we have to learn for multiplication. So let's move on to multiplication. For this we have to take example for easily understand this property. So let's take two integer. One is positive, that is 7. One is negative, that is minus 9. Okay, so let's multiply them. Why multiplication? Because we are learning for multiplication. Okay, so we have to multiply 7 with minus 9. We get minus 63. Now let's check with their replace values. Okay, so when we multiply minus 9 with 7, we get minus 63 as answer. So in both the case, the answer is same. That means we can say that multiplication is commutative for integer. That means this. Whether we multiply a by b or B by A, we get the same answer. Okay class, this is commutativity and it is different for different operations and different group of numbers. Here we are studying for integer and multiplication operation. So we can say that multiplication is commutative for integer. Okay, I hope you all are understanding. So let's move on to another property, which is multiplication by 0. Okay, we all know that when we multiply anything by 0, we get answer as 0. And this part is the commutative part for this. Okay, so this is equal to this because of commutativity, and we all know that the multiplication of any number with 0 will be 0. So let's take an example. It is very easy, so let's take it quickly. So we have an integer 5, and when we multiply it with 0, we get 0 as answer. Now check for when we multiply 0 by 5, we also get 0. This and this, they both are commutative for each other. That means we can say that 5 minus 0 is equals to 0, which is equals to 0 into 5. It is into. Okay, so this is very easy and very small topic, that whenever we multiply any integer with 0, we get 0 as answer, and this is the commutative part for the first one. Okay, let's move on to another one, multiplicative identity. Class, in previous class we had learned about one more identity, which is, recall? Yes, it is additive identity. Now what is additive identity? Let's recall that first. In additive identity, we have that when we add any integer with 0, we get same integer as answer. That means 0 is the additive identity in that case, in case of addition. That means when we add any integer with 0, we get the integer itself as an answer. So we can say that 0 is the additive identity for addition. Now, similarly, multiplicative identity is, we need the same integer as answer. So what would be that number by multiplying which any integer? We get that integer as an answer. Yes, it is 1. When we multiply any integer, whether it is positive, it is negative, when we multiply it with 1, we get the integer as an answer itself. Okay, and this, they both are commutative parts. Hope you all know that. We had discussed it. So we can say that 1 is the multiplicative identity for integers. Let's take an example. A. When we multiply 8, it's 8, sorry. When we multiply 8 with 1, we get 8 as answer. Means the integer itself is the answer. And when we multiply 1 with 8, it is 8. That means commutative case. Okay. So we can say that 1 is the multiplicative identity for integer. Okay. Don't get confused. 0 is the additive identity. Okay, additive. And 1 is the multiplicative identity. Okay, good. Let's move on to another identity. Another property, which is associative property. So here, that topic means that term associativity is also learned by us. So let's just have a quick revision for this. For the case of addition, okay, just to understand what is associativity. For case of addition, it says that when we adding three numbers, okay, and we multiply, when we adding three numbers, whether we add the first two number first and then add its resultant to the third one, or we add the last two integers first and add its resultant with the first one, we get the same answer for both the cases. This is our associativity for addition. Same thing we have to check for multiplication. So let's check for multiplication. Here we are taking three integers 6, 3, minus 4, and we will check that when we multiply the first two number first and then multiply the resultant with the third one, is that equal to when we multiply last two number and multiplies resultant with the first one. Okay, so let's check. See, when we multiply 6, 3, we get 18, and when we multiply 18 with minus 4, we get minus 72. Now check for the other method. We multiply 3 minus 4, we get minus 12, and when we multiply minus 12 with 6, we get minus 72. See, we can easily see and clearly see that both the answers are same. That means we can say that whether we multiply the first two number and then multiply it with third one, or whether we multiply the last two numbers and then multiply the resultant with first one, we get the same answer. So multiplication is associative for integer. That means multiplication is associative for integer. This is our property of integer for associativity for multiplication. I hope you have understand very well. Let's move on to another. Yes, this is our distributive property and the last property of multiplication of integers. See class, as the term suggests, distributive made from distribute. Okay, as we all know what is the meaning of distribute? Yes. So what exactly the use of this term in this property is, see, there are two way of distributive property. First for addition and second for subtraction. Let's check for additive first. See, what distributive property says, it says when two integers are adding and their addition is multiplied with a number, then we can solve this by distribute this integer with the both integers inside bracket. Again, distributive property says when two numbers are adding and their addition is multiplying with a integer, then we can also say that means the distribution of A could be possible for both the inner integers. We can distribute A with B and C both and then add their multiplication after, so we get the correct answer. Okay, let's check for these integers -2, 3 and 5. 3 and 5 are adding and their addition is multiplied with -2. Let's check when we do this way what we will get. It is 3 plus 5 will be 8. Now what is the multiplication of -2 with 8? It is -16. Okay, see, this is similar as this one. That means the distribution of outer integer with the other inner integer is giving us the same answer and exactly correct answer as we done this way. Okay, see here what exactly distributive property says. We have to multiply -2 with 3 first and then we have to put the addition sign and then multiply it with the 5. So what we get? We get -2 multiply 3 will be -6 and -2 multiply 5 will get -10. When we solve it, we get -16. -16 is the same answer which we get when we did this way. This way means when we add them inside the bracket and then multiply the answer with the outer number, we get the same answer. See, what is the use of distributive property? It makes our calculation more easy. They are smaller integers, but in case of bigger numbers, distributive property will be more easy and it is one of the property of multiplication of integer. So this is the case for addition. Similarly for subtraction. The difference is that we have to put negative sign in between their multiplication and we get the answer. Okay class, I hope you all have get what we are trying to learn in this class. So let's have a quick recall for all the properties. The very first is closure under multiplication. Yes, integers are closed under multiplication. That means when we take two integers and multiply them, we get integer as an answer. Second property, commutativity of multiplication. Yes, multiplication is commutative for integer. That means when we multiplying two integer and if we interchange their place, we get equal answer for both the cases. Okay class? Now multiplication by 0. It is very clear. Whenever any number multiply with 0, we get 0 as answer. So it is multiplication by 0. Now multiplicative identity. Multiplicative identity is that number by which when we multiply any integer, we get integer itself as an answer. So that means 1 is the multiplicative identity for integer. Associativity of multiplication. Associativity of multiplication says when we multiplying three numbers, whether we multiply first to first and then multiply their result with the third one, or we multiply last to first and then multiply its result with the first one, we get the same answer. So multiplication is associative for integer. Okay class? Now the last one is distributive property. Distributive property says we can multiply the outer number with each and every integer inside the bracket. Okay? And we have to keep in mind about the sign. If there is positive sign in between integers inside the bracket, we have to put positive in between their multiplication with outer number, and if there is negative sign in between integer inside the bracket, we have to put negative sign in between their multiplication with the outer number. Okay class? Now after this we will do few questions of exercise 1.3 which were not done in previous class. So in second question we have to verify the following. Now class, see carefully what is that exactly is. A part. It says that there are two integers which are adding and their addition is multiplying with 18. And it equals to, we add 8 with 7 and then put addition, and 18 is multiply with -3. We have to check it is correct or not. They both are equal or not. Class, we can easily see it is an example of distribution. So let's check whether both the sides are equal or not. So here we have, in this part we add the inner integers first. So we get 7 minus 3 as two different sign will be negative. And when we subtract them we get 4. And when we multiply 18 with 4 we get 72. Now let's check for RHS, that means right hand side equation. 18 multiplied with 7 is 126. 18 multiplied with -3, it is -54. Two different sign will be negative. Okay, so when we subtract them we get 72 as an answer. So class, you can easily see that for both the methods we get the same answer. Okay, so it is verified. Now the B part is your practice question. We can discuss here. See, it says that here these two integers are adding and their addition is multiplying with minus 21. So it is the LHS part. Let's check for RHS. We have to check for this, that when we multiply the outer one with the first integer and then add it with the multiplication of the another integer with the outer one. So we just have to check that both the sides have equal answer or not. So it is similar as the first part. So it is your practice question. Now class, move on to the third question. First part is, for any integer a, what is minus 1 multiply a equal to? So let's check for it. Here it says that we have an integer a, and when we multiply it with minus 1, what we will get? So we know that when we multiply any number with 1, we get that integer as an answer. So let's take this part, and for this minus 1 multiply with a and take minus as common, means we have to separate minus with 1. So for this we have answer a. Okay, that means when we multiply a with 1 we get answer a. Now we have that minus also here, it comes as it is. So when we multiply a with minus, we get minus a. In short, when we multiply minus 1 with any integer, we get the negative integer as answer. Okay, it is easy question. Let's move on to second part. Determine the integer whose product with minus 1 is this, and this. This has 3 parts. So we have to determine that by which number when we multiply minus 1 we get answer minus 2 for first part, 37 for B part and 0 for C part. Let's check. Okay, we can discuss this question here. It is very easy and you can do it as own. So see, we know that when we multiply minus 1 with any integer, we get minus of that integer as answer. Okay, so for a, it is the same case. Here we have minus 1, and in answer we have minus integer. That means for the place of a we have 21. Let's put value for a part. We have minus 1. We don't know the value of a, but we know the answer, which is 22. That means we can calculate that 22 is that answer for part A. 22. Okay. Now for part B, 37. With the product of minus 1 with any integer, we get minus of that integer. Here we have minus 1, but in answer we have 37 only, not negative. That means that should be negative. So our answer is, for 37 our answer is minus 37. For 0 it is 0. That means for C part it is 0. Now let's check for question number 4. Class, 4 is Starting from -1 into 5, we have to write different patterns to show -1 into -1 will be 1. Okay, starting from -1 into 5. Let's check its solution. This we have to start from -1 into 5, which will be -5, and we have to reach to -1 into -1. That means this will be same. This part will decrease from 5 to -1. So we have to decrease and make various patterns from -1 into 5 to -1 into -1. So let's check for this. Here we have -5. For -1 into 4 we have -4. In the same way, for -1 into 1 we have -1 into 0 we have 0, and for -1 into 1 we have 1. This is the various pattern we have to make for this question. Class, see, this is the way we can understand why two negative integer, when multiply, we get positive as answer. Are you able to understand? This is the main reason why we know that minus into minus will be positive, which we had learned in previous class. That is, the multiplication of two negative integer is positive. Why it is so? Because of this decreasing pattern. This is the actual reason, actual calculation behind this. Okay, that means when we decrease the integers and we reach to the negative number and multiply it with the first negative number, we get positive as answer, because their value means the value of their multiplication is also increasing, okay, towards down it's increasing. You can see that -4, -5, 3, -2, then -1, 0 and 1. It is increasing by value. Here, when we decrease and reach to negative, we get positive as answer. So this is the reason why the multiplication of two negative numbers will be positive. Okay, I hope this also will be more clear for you now. Why the multiplication of two negative integer will be positive. Okay class, let's move on to another question. Question number 5. Find the product using suitable properties. That means in this question we have to use the properties which we have learned previous in this class, and we have to solve this with the help of these properties. Okay, let's check for the A part. Class, here, yes, A part is 26 multiply with -48 plus -48 multiply with -36. Now class, you can easily see these two are multiplying and these two are multiplying. Because of board mass, multiplication will be function first. So we can easily see in both the parts -48 is common. So we can take it as common. So what we have inside the bracket now is -48 is multiplying with 26 plus -36. Now this becomes the case of distribution. And when we distribute it, we get this again. Okay? But we have to solve it thoroughly. Now 26 plus 36, because two different sign will be negative and their answer will be minus 10, and when we multiply minus 10 with minus 48 we get 480 as answer. So class, you can see how our calculation becomes so easy now, right? Yes. Let's check for another way. It is also similar as this one. E part says 625 is multiplying with minus 38, and here minus 625 is multiplying with 65. See class, here we have positive 625 and here we have minus 625. So we have to take positive 625 as common. Here we remain minus 36, and in this side we have 65 and it's minus, because we take positive 625 means only 625, and we left its negative sign inside the bracket with 65. Now when we solve it, we get minus 100 as answer, and when we multiply 625 with minus 8 we get 62500, that is 62,500 as answer. Okay class, let's move on to other parts. C part and D part. Now we can see that here 4 numbers are multiplying. Okay, so class, in these parts we will learn how to make our calculation easy. Okay, so let's try to find those number first. By multiplying those we get 1 and 0 digit integer, means such an integer which will be of 1 and 0 only. So when we multiply 25 with 4 we get 100. So we did this first. Now the equation will be this: 15 multiply 100 into minus 10. Now when we multiply minus 10 with 100 we get 1000 minus 1000. Now it will be more easy to multiply minus 1000 with 15, which will be minus 15,000. See how our calculation will be easy. So don't try to solve those numbers first, for which we have to make or do bigger calculation or bigger multiplication. Just try to find out those numbers first. With the help of those whose multiplication we get easy number and easy multiplication. Okay class. Now D is, this is the another way to make our calculation easy. You can easily see that we have minus 41 multiply 102. So we will not going to multiply them directly. Instead of that, what we will do, we break 102 as 100 plus 2. Now it becomes the case of distribution. For this, first we multiply minus 41 with 100, and then this positive sign, and then multiply minus 41 with 2 here. So the multiplication of minus 41 and 100 will be minus 4100, and then this sign, and then multiplication of minus 41 with 2, which is this. So their multiplication will be minus 82. Now what we have? We have minus 4100, two different sign will with subtract, and then 82. Solve this and we get this. Okay class, that means we can break a single number in such a way to make our calculation easy. Class, the other part of question number 5 are somehow same or similar to those part which we have just done. So the other parts are your practice questions. Now move on to question number 6. A certain freezing process requires that room temperature be lowered from 40 degrees Celsius. That means initially the room temperature is 40 degrees Celsius, and because of freezing process it will be lowered at a rate of 5 degrees Celsius per hour. That means initially it is 40 degree Celsius, and every hour it drop down by 5 degrees Celsius. Means for first hour it will drop down and become 35 degrees Celsius. For second hour it will drop down and become 30 degrees Celsius. Similarly for the upcoming hours. Now what is the question is? The question says, what will be the room temperature 10 hours after the process begins? So let's check for solution. See, we know that initially the temperature is 40 degrees Celsius and it's lowering at a rate of 5 degrees Celsius per hour. So in 10 hours it will reduce up to 50 degrees Celsius. That means if it reduce 5 degrees Celsius every hour, so for 10 hours it will reduce up to 50 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now if initially it is 40 degrees Celsius, so it will be dropped down from 40 degrees Celsius by 50 degrees Celsius. So we have to minus 50 degrees Celsius from 40 degrees Celsius, we get minus 10. That means after 10 hours the temperature of the room will be minus 10 degree Celsius. I hope class you all are getting very well. So now this is your homework. You have to fill worksheet given in the description box, and you have to revise properties of multiplication. Okay, because these properties are very important for your chapter and for upcoming classes also. And then you have few questions to solve for your practice, which are similar to those questions we have discussed in this class. This is the screenshot of those questions whose part will be given for your practice. So you can see questions from here. Class, I hope you all are busy or keep in touch in your study. Do study and try to not to waste your time.